Hi again. Here we go with episode 4 of my adventures at in Malton. Not just in Malton, but in other areas, but primarily in Malton for more than 3 decades. Um, had a couple things I wanted to show you in my office here. Um, I was more than just music and stage crew and art and a bunch of other things. I also played a lot of hockey, and some of you might remember if you played staff student hockey. I was a staff goalie for about 20 years, um, and I stopped a few pucks here and there. And if I show you taking this, my jerseys, the one on the left is a Westwood jersey. The one in the middle was a very, very old Westwood jersey that I wore back in 1983. And the one on the right is a baseball jersey that I coached baseball um, at at the school in the latter days of um, Westwood, sometime around 19, I think it was 78 and 79. I took over the baseball team, which was basically come one, come all, everybody can join. You can play over there, you play over there. And the score didn't matter. Well, it did matter to the students. So I took it over in 79, and we won a couple games, as far as I remember. We started practicing in the CAF in February. And I remember piecing off the tiles in the CAF for 60 feet from pitcher to catcher, and I threatened the pitchers with death if they broke a window, which they didn't. They were very good, and we put together not a bad squad. It had we had trouble hitting, but we did get some hits. But we had some very good pitching, um, and so I'll try and dig up some names of the people on that squad um, in a later show. But that was that. That's what I. Those are my contributions. Um, One particular student, way back around 1983, 84, big fellow who I still maintain contact with. Um, he had a heavy shot, and he once in the Malton Arena was a small arena. I don't think it was about 170 feet from end to end, not even. And he went behind his net, and he looked up just as he came out of the end zone, and he just screamed out, "Kaplan!" And he let loose with a wrist shot that caught me on the collarbone. And I was wearing fairly good Cooper chest protector at the time. I have still the bruise from that shot. It went right through the padding. And I don't know if I've ever told him about that. That hurt. And it's a good thing he wasn't taking my class because I would have failed him. Um, but yeah, I played staff student hockey, and famous story. We had a phys ed teacher. Don't remember her name. Jennifer. She was a member of the Canadian women's Olympic hockey team. And we were all kind of excited because we staff student hockey. She'd come out, she'd play. Um, and she was actually pretty good. And we didn't have the best skaters. Some of the skaters, if they managed to get 10 feet in one direction, that was good too. Or they couldn't skate backwards. Um, I had two defensemen at one point, and one couldn't turn to the right or left, and the other one couldn't skate backwards. So it was a wonderful club. But she came in on me on a breakaway, and just as she crossed over the blue line, in my head I said, "Okay, I'm going to come out and challenge her." Well, she had her head down. I had my head down. I poked for the puck. I missed it. And we ran into each other, literally gloves and stakes, and everything was flying everywhere. and the pucks slid really, really slowly into the net. Really, really slowly. We had a good laugh about that. And after in the dressing room afterwards, the guys were going, "What were you thinking? What were you thinking?" I thought I had a chance to poke it off her stick. No, that's not how it worked out. But anyway, that was one of them. I really enjoyed playing staff student hockey. That ended actually in 2003 or 2004 when I was doing a summer hockey thing against one of the other teachers who is today at Lincoln Alexander, who's a really, really good hockey player. I'll give you a hint. He's got long hair and he also plays guitar, and he's really good. He came in on me on a breakaway, and I stopped him point blank, but I felt something go in my knee. 6 months or 7 months later, I had arthroscopic knee surgery, and I was told by the surgeon, okay, no dancing, no hockey, no basketball, no street hockey, nothing. You're a candidate for knee replacement. I'm going, okay, so that ended my hockey career. I still have my pads in the other room. They're the smallest goalie pads on the planet. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about a gentleman who, again, like a couple of the previous shows, um, this is a gentleman who retired not with a lot of fanfare, and that was too bad. Mr. Perkins, John Perkins. This is a gentleman who was, to me, the Renaissance man. This is a guy who um, started teaching physics, I believe. He was a science person. But he also evolved into adult education, foods, phys ed. He coached many teams. Special education. He was wonderful. He was wonderful with students. And he also taught guitar back when we had adult students. And he had a class of guitar players, adult and adolescent. And this is a guy who was not just a scientist and an athlete and a chef and a this and a that. He was also a talented musician, trained tenor who could sing like anything. But also he had his own bluegrass band, a fairly famous one, and he played banjo, he played guitar, he played everything. Um, he was wonderful. In addition to being chairman of, I believe, the Ontario division of um, the Epileptic Foundation. On top of that, he was a farmer. He lived on a large farm in Hillsborough. And he used to come in every day, what must have been 30 years worth. I mean, he was there before I got there. And he didn't retire not long before I retired. Um, he had a wonderful sense of community and a wonderful sense of student um, involvement. Um, one Halloween, he got dressed up in a nurse's outfit, complete with white tights and skirt and dress and hat, um, except that he had a beard and hairy legs. So you can imagine this guy who's about 6 feet tall coming into school in a nurse's outfit with the white tights and the hat and the frock and the whole routine. And he was right in there, and he did everything. He sang in the choir. He was on stage when we did staff stuff. Um, he was a good athlete. He was just a wonderful guy. And I want to bring attention because some of you may have had Mr. Perkins in one department or another. He did foods. He did adult education. He did special ed. He did remedial. He did physics. He taught everything, and music. So that was somebody who deserved a lot of applause for what he did. Um, I have a picture here of this guy. I don't know if you can see it all that well. Not really. Okay, that's Lincoln Alexander and me. As you can tell, Alexander was a lot taller than I am. He was a good foot and a half taller than me. That was taken at the first time I met him. He had retired from being Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, and he was holding a citizenship court at Westwood. The second time I met him, which was then, was another engagement. I believe it was Black History Assembly, and he came for that, and we chatted afterwards. And the gentleman that took that picture had to get up on a chair and hold the camera above his head to take that picture. Um, the third time I met him was at the opening of Lincoln Alexander in 2001 or 2000, and he was there as a guest, and he made a few remarks. So was Hazel McCallion. I don't know, some of you may remember that assembly. It was held in the afternoon. Hazel McCallion, who always showed up to any event that she was invited to, and she'd park her car in the east parking lot next to the tech wing, and she'd walk in with her chain of office around her neck, and the first words out of her mouth were, "Where's the food?" And of course, in the restaurant, we had a little reception, and she marched right in and go, "Where's the food?" So right in there, Mrs. McCallion, and she'd walk in and we'd chat and everything. And what happened was, during the day for the students, we held an opening school assembly, and Lincoln Alexander said some words and talked about his background and talked about joining the army and talked about his career and so on. And then there was a break for lunch, and then they talked because he was there as well. And we chatted, but during the actual official ceremony, which was by invitation for the community, um, Hazel McCallion was the first to speak. And the first words out of her mouth were, "If I were Lincoln Alexander, what would I say? Here's what I would probably say." And she went through his entire speech, almost word for word, without even hearing it. She figured out what he was going to say and his background, and she knew him well enough. And you could see him sitting on the panel on the stage, freaking out because she had just taken his whole speech away from him. She wasn't stupid. She isn't stupid. He wasn't stupid either. Um, and when he got up to talk, he had to change his speech on the fly. And he talked about completely different things that he had to avoid other things because she talked about it. She talked about his army thing. She talked about his career. And it was something interesting. This is a guy who was well into his 80s, who wasn't well, and he had to think on the fly, and boy, did he ever. He did a wonderful job. Anyway, that picture was from, I'll post it on my Facebook page. Um, that picture was from, I think, 1997, 96, something like that. We did a Black History Assembly, and he was there. Um, he um, he had a wonderful sense of humor, very dry sense of humor. Um, we talked. He said, "I remember you. You're the stage crew guy, aren't you? The music guy too? Don't you play those pieces like Oh Canada and stuff like that?" I'm going, "Yeah, yeah, I do." And he said, "Oh, your band is always so good and everything." And whereas Hazel McConaughey would come in and go, "Where's the food?" So it was kind of cute. She was wonderful too, and she remembered everything. She remembered the first conversation we had way back in the early '80s. Um, we talked about different things in politics, and she said to me around probably the 2000 when we opened the school. She said to me at the time, "Are you still involved in politics or in teaching politics?" I'm going, "I haven't. I talked to you about that about 20 years ago." She says, "Yeah, I remember." Terrific, terrific stuff. Um, I'm going to talk about brother sister act. He'll know exactly who I'm talking about. These two people were not only very, very talented musically, they were also talented vocally, and they were a never ending source of amusement and entertainment in the music room because brother used to pick on sister mercilessly. and creatively. And how she didn't kill him several times over, I'll never know. We got a rather large boogie box for the music room. We trying it out, and it had the two speakers attached. It was a rather large, unwieldy thing, but it was a music thing for the music room. And we discovered a remote control that if I clicked on the remote control, I could raise the volume and lower the volume. And of course, I could do it remotely. And as I'm raising the volume, the dial's actually turning. Well, this gentleman decides that this is really cool. So he yanks his sister into the music office and says, "Watch this." And he does this. And I'm behind everybody with the remote control, and I'm turning up the thing, and the dial moves. He does this, and the dial turns down because I'm doing all the remote control. He's not touching it. And she goes, "Oh, let me try, let me try." So she tries it. Doesn't work. Of course, right? And mirth and merriment, and everybody has a good laugh. And then when she found out who was actually doing it, I don't know whether she slugged him once or twice or something like that. But yes, it was a constant. She played flute. He was an alto sax player. And later on in their high school careers, we dared to do the solo, the aria, the song from Phantom of the Opera in a talent show. And he played the Phantom, and she played whatever the leading lady's name, and they did Phantom of the Opera. And it ends with her hitting a really high note, which no other than Whitney Houston, very other people could hit it, and she hit it, and it was amazing. The two of them did an amazing job on that piece, and I'll never forget that. Um, but he is famous for a line that I have used ever since. On a saxophone, the key that has the most problems is the D key, right at the very bottom of the sax. Because when you play sax, that's where all the water goes. Generally speaking, it leaks. And he came up to me one day and he said, "Sir, I have a leaky deaky." And of course, that was typical of him and his sort of line, but it was absolutely accurate, and much mirth and merriment again. And I had used that. I went on to use that line if ever since, actually. In fact, when I play with the Thornhill Community Band and the Richmond Hill Community Band, which I do, um, the all the sax players, and there's about 7 in one band and 5 in another, and our greeting is, "How's your leaky deaky?" Which it takes on different connotations, but I have to thank that brother and sister act. They know who they are. Other people also knew who they are, and uh, two really, really, really talented kids, and have grown on to have wonderful families, and they're old enough. They're almost my age now, both of them. Not really, but anyway. So that came up. That was one of the comments that came up yesterday, and I thought I would use it today. Again, I'm not using any names. I like to protect names as much as I can, simply because of privacy. That's all. I'm going to keep it short today, basically because I can't think of anything else to talk about. Oh, but I have so many more stories. Oh, I was going to do Communications Festival. I'm going to save that for an hour. you, I'll give you a for instance. Here's the first story. I'm going to blow it right out of the water. Way in the early days, back I guess in the early '80s, we were doing Communications Festival, and I had an audition. Auditions are the story. And one guy shows up. He says, "I play drums." I said, "Cool. Okay." He says, "Can I bring my drum set in? I'm going to set it up, and I'll play for you." And he brought a pickup truck loaded with equipment, and he came into the music room after school, and he loaded up rack and racks and racks of bass drums and toms and cymbals, and I don't know. He looked like Neil Peart. He looked like Neil Peart. He sounded totally different, but he looked like Neil Peart. Surrounded himself with all this stuff. I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be really cool. let me hear. How do you? He started to play, and he couldn't. He had no sense of timing, none. When you practice in a basement by yourself, without anybody else, you need an interaction, or you need something to give. He played to the two records. I said that's great, but that's not great. You need to play with other humans, especially if you play drums, so that you get a sense of timing and a sense of feel for other people's playing and so on and so forth. That's why pianists, Beethoven invented the metronome for that reason. He realized pianists are solitary artists. They don't usually play with singers and other musicians on a regular basis. They play by themselves. So he had Mazel invent. Mazel was a clockmaker. He had Mazel invent this tick tock, tick tock thing, that metronome that all pianists use and despise, but drummers need that too. So he came and he played, and he was so out of rhythm. It was like if you rode on the back of a pickup truck down a dirt road. That was the kind of beat he had. And then we decided to put him together with a bass player and a guitar player and me on piano. And we just played like 12 bar blues, like it's something really, really, really simple. And he just couldn't do it. He just couldn't keep time. He was ahead, he was behind. The bass, the cymbal, and he was terrible. And I had to tell him, I don't care how expensive your set is. But my set's so expensive. I got it, you know. I said, doesn't matter if you only play by yourself and you play too long by yourself, then you're going to sound like you've been playing by yourself. And that's exactly what happened. I don't know if he ever found a band. I really don't. Which is too bad because there's about, at that point, $3,000 worth of equipment there. Today, that would be worth about $8 or $9 or $10,000 worth of equipment. For naught, because he just never practiced properly and never interacted with other musicians. You can't do that. You gotta interact. But there are so many audition stories, so many, including people who swear they could sing and they sound wonderful, and they get up there and they sing, and the hair on the back of my neck stood up. Forget the phone. Anyway, there is one more person I am going to talk about, and she lives up in Owen Sound, I believe, right now, and I have followed her. Um, I troll, but I've kept in touch. I've not kept, yeah, I've sort of kept in touch a little bit, but I tend to stay out of people's lives, um, unless they really want me to be involved in some way, shape, or form. Um, but as a 15 or 16-year-old, we did a Remembrance Day assembly, and this girl sang One Tin Soldier, just accompanying herself on the guitar. And I tell you, it was one of the most hair raising. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. When she finished, it was dead silence. It was so good. It was so haunting. And it's a performance that I think should have gone down or should have been recorded. It's probably one of the best Remembrance Day segments. And it goes back quite a while. Um, but her voice and the guitar playing and the way she did it was just chilling under those circumstances. She knows who I am. I thank her for it. Wonderful, 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 terrific person. Still a good vocalist. Still leads a choir, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, I'll find out about it. Anyway, to be honest with you, I think we're done. I don't want to go on too long today. Um, I've already gone on too long. Again, leave lots of comments. I read the comments. I respond to them occasionally. The comments on Facebook, thank you so much. Thank you for the support. Even if it's viewed, if these views are a few dozen people. As long as it is viewed, that's what's important. And it's up there for anybody to re engage whenever they want. Um, I'm having fun doing this. Uh, I don't mean it to be a big, huge community of thousands of people. There's no way that it could be that big. But as long as a few people are watching it and enjoying it, let me know. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want me to talk about. Um, and we'll see you soon. Give me a couple days. I'll come back with another one. Take care. Get the vaccines. Be safe. Bye.